Welcome. What is up? Welcome to the Mixer. I am your host, RC. I'm not joined by my co-host, Jeff. Jeff may or may not be in town, but last minute he had something come up and was not able to join. A happy belated birthday to my man, Jeff, my favorite Zoomer out there. I appreciate you. I appreciate the work that you put in on the show. We gotta hang. We gotta hang sometime in person, and not in the virtual world. We are the Mixer. You can follow us on social channels at FCY Mixer, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter is where we primarily interact. The YouTube channel is the Mixer channel, and links are in the show notes. I owe an additional apology for last episode's quality. My mic was not picking up. It was picking up my laptop mic when we recorded, so unfortunately it did not sound the greatest. Again, we are a fledgling podcast show, learning the ropes here. Gave me a chance to practice my very limited editing skills, so that was fun. But buy the dip on us, and it'll pay off in the long run. Let's get right into it. Tilts. Of course I have tilts this week. My main tilt is my daughter learning how to swim and me being the go-to in the pool. Shout out to Aqua Tots here in Otay Ranch. Taking my daughter twice now, maybe 3 times. She's doing great. She absolutely loves the water, so that's awesome. The first few times she was just focused on splashing and not really paying attention to what the instructor said, which is fine. I mean, she's 2. But man, it is tough to be in a pool with about 30 other kids ranging from a year to probably 10 years old, and about 7-8 instructors all giving commands. There's water splashing. I got to pay attention. I got to pick up on the commands and obviously make sure my daughter and her safety are the number one priority. And yeah, she's brave. They have these little benches in the pool, like the little steps that you use to get in the pool, and it's only 3 feet deep, but for a toddler that's like 2.5 feet tall or whatever she is, it's a scary spot. And so I put her on the little bench, or I put her on the side of the pool, and she's just like full send. I'm going in. She just jumps, and we have a blast, but it is just terrifying. She has to learn how to close her mouth. It's fun, but it's a high pressure situation. I feel like it's every minute in the pool is like a fourth quarter drive down by 7 type of atmosphere. That's the only thing that I think would come close to relating. And we all knew that Tom Brady, no way he taught his kids how to swim. So who's really the GOAT? My other tilt is I don't know what a foul is in any sport, supposedly. Watching more of the NBA playoffs, I see stuff called versus not called. I don't get it. I know it happens fast, but especially in soccer, I have a really hard time figuring out exactly what a foul is, because the main thing I ever relate it to is playing lacrosse. I played high school lacrosse, a little bit of stuff after high school, but just kind of club activities. And there were a few rules. Lacrosse is a contact sport, so and it's played in a similar way to basketball, the way offenses are run. And a lot of the penalties are kind of the same. Basically, can't hit them in the helmet with your stick. That's pretty common. You can't push in the back, and you can't cross-check. So, I mean, those are the main important kind of contact rules. And so, I mean, I don't know what it is in soccer because, I mean, I played YMCA indoor soccer, and I mean, that's just no touching. It's like, the guys' locker room in middle school, just, there's no physical contact at all. And which is a good thing. And but I played co-ed indoor soccer, and I remember this one time where there's this girl. She was pretty good, but she was kind of up against the boards, and I was in front of her, and she just tried to get around me, and she had her back facing me, and then she spun and just ran straight into my chest. I didn't even move. I just stood there, not reacting fast enough to her move, and anyway, somebody on their team yelled at me for knocking a girl over, and I mean, I just stood there, and she ran into my chest, which I wasn't expecting. So different conditions obviously than international soccer with UEFA refs, but I don't know. I see guys. I think the main thing I kind of don't understand is when the guys are both going for the ball and they're side by side, because I mean, I've seen guys just straight up shoulder check dudes out of the way and take the ball and it not get called, and then I've seen them running side by side and then it gets called. So I mean, I just don't know. Is it if it looks bad, if the ref's feeling like it, that's a foul? Is it they can't get like the back of the shoulder? They have to hit him in the front. I mean, that makes sense to me, but I just don't know. Then if somebody's facing you, can you just like shoulder check him to get the ball? Is that just frowned upon? I don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, the umping in some baseball games, especially the Potter games, have been terrible lately. We had Hosmer get thrown out. And then immediately after the Reds, there was a ground ball to the third baseman. He thought it was going to go foul. It was called fair. Third baseman dropped the ball, started yelling at the umps. I mean, it's just hilarious. And then, I mean, the other thing is all the VAR reviews in the Euros. I mean, I've always been in the camp, let's do video review and just kind of tweak it as we go. I think I'm shifting towards, like, let's just get rid of video review altogether, but in the condition that we cannot complain that there's no video review. I think we could still complain if the refs get something blatantly wrong, but there's just too many interruptions to the game, specifically in soccer too. When guys score a goal, they can't even celebrate. I mean, I think it was Switzerland got the winner against France. I think that was the awesome game that went to penalty kicks, and like they couldn't even celebrate because they had to make sure or it was a save, actually. It wasn't even a goal. It was a save. The goalie made the save, and he had to pause to make sure he didn't get called or anything for coming off of his line. And yeah, I mean, they won Switzerland with a big upset in the round of 16. It was against France. So what a crazy game. So let's get into soccer first here, since it'll be a smooth transition. This tournament's been amazing. Some of the games in the group matches were really good. The round of 16, though, was just special. You had Denmark. They blew out Wales. Italy Austria was good. The Czech Republic upset the Netherlands. Belgium versus Portugal was really good. Belgium ended up winning 1-0. Croatia versus Spain was awesome. I mean, I believe Spain was. I think Croatia went up 1-0, and then Spain scored 3, and it was 3-1. And then Croatia got 2. It went to extras, and then Spain added on 2. And then similarly, I think the Switzerland-France game started 1-0 Switzerland. France came back with 3 goals. That went to extras. That went to penalties. The penalties were amazing. All the goals were amazing. Pogba's goal was insane. It ended up not being enough. Mbappe was the one who had a shot blocked and gave Switzerland the win. But just an awesome display out there. Then we had England versus Germany. That game was tied up. And then I think in like the 70th minute, England broke through, got a goal. There were some amazing saves by the goalie, England's goalie, who I am completely spacing out on. But, you know, that was just another great game. And then we had, the Ukraine and Sweden, which, I mean, just an amazing display of goalkeeping. That went to extra time. Sweden went down a man. I mean, a blatant red card. That was a pretty nasty injury. I don't remember the player, but yeah, I mean, they were just all those games were awesome. Croatia, Spain, Switzerland, France, England, Germany, Sweden, Ukraine, Belgium, Portugal, all the Italy, Austria. I mean, great display of sports. And I mean, most of these games are going on during the day, so you know you don't really have to set aside time and to find these. You know, it's just kind of on. You could be listening to it during the day. It's just been awesome. I've really enjoyed this tournament. I tweeted out that all sports should have a midweek knockout tournament immediately. That would be great. We still got the Gold Cup coming up, so I'm excited about that. But really been enjoying the Euros. The quarterfinals set up with Switzerland versus Spain on Friday, in the Belgium, Italy, which will be an awesome game. They're in the, I guess, left side of the bracket, if you're looking at it. And then we have the Czech Republic and Denmark, and then the Ukraine and England. So the first games on Friday seem to be the better matchups. You know, Denmark seems to be the team of destiny with the scary scenes that happen with Eriksson. So, I mean, they've been on a roll since then. I don't know much about the Czech team. Probably a bunch of Europa players that I would recognize from Arsenal's participation in Europa League lately. But, yeah, Denmark looks very solid. And then England versus the Ukraine. I do not know much about the Ukraine team. I think the same applies. A lot of Europa players that I should probably know. But England has momentum. They finally knocked out Germany after being knocked out by Germany in a lot of prior tournaments. So, I mean, it's set up for them. You know, I mean, I hope they don't. The most England thing would be for them to lose against the Ukraine after beating Germany. So we'll see what happens. I'm not really rooting for England, but you know, I know they have an immense amount of fans, and you know all the players with their ties to the Premier League. It would be nice to see them get over that hump. If I had a rooting interest, it's probably Denmark and Belgium at this point. I like Lukaku. He seems like a really good guy. Would like to see him do well. I like Eden Hazard. I know Jeff's a big Eden Hazard guy, so he had a tidy little finish. I think that started that the last game. It's kind of a strike that was bending outwards. I don't know what the proper soccer term is, but it was a nice, very nice goal. And I do like Switzerland somewhat. They have Chaka, who's an Arsenal player. He's usually their captain. Mixed feelings towards him. He blew some games for Arsenal. I mean, what Arsenal player hasn't? But he did it in years past in games that might have had top four implications, kind of set the team down the path that they're on now, where, let's face it, they're somewhat irrelevant in the Premier League and, won't be participating in European footy in Europa or the Premier League this coming year. So, but they do have Shaqiri, who's, just like a little fire hydrant, and he's fun to watch. So I'm okay if Switzerland moves on and it makes the semis. But looking forward to that. So we have the next round coming up Friday, Saturday. Copa America is going on. Brazil looks really good. Argentina looks good. Brazil takes on Chile, I believe, in the first round of the knockouts. And Argentina has an easier matchup. I cannot think of who they're playing off the top of my head. But, yeah, I believe those games are Saturday afternoon. So it'll be a fun 4th of July weekend with some soccer. There's nothing more American than watching international soccer that the U.S. is not a part of. Obviously, there's lots of baseball as well, so, that's going to be good. So, yeah, that's going to wrap up soccer talk. I did want to talk the NBA playoffs just a tinge. Jeff is more of the NBA expert, but, my Clips, they're down. They're not out. They were down 3-1. They made it 3-2 on Monday. I guess they play tonight. It's game 6. It's in LA. Booker on the Suns, not 100%. Chris Paul doesn't seem to be 100%. You got guys on the Clippers stepping up like Reggie Jackson. Paul George has been up and down. He's been putting up a lot of points, but once it gets to the fourth quarter, was it game 2 where he missed those free throws? I thought it was over at that point. I thought the Suns fans were going to be insufferable, Suns in 4, but they came back. So, and then in the East, the Hawks and Bucks, which I placed not an insignificant wager by my usual bets, although still a pretty small amount on the Bucks to win the series at just terrible odds. They were like minus 600. I think it was like a $15 bet, and if I win it, I get like $3.50 or something. Those were the odds, and I was just like, well, I can add a few. Like my bets are usually $2. It's $1 or $2, and so anyway, I was like, that's like winning 2 bets, which is better than I have been doing lately. So anyway, yeah, it's looking not good. Giannis, hyperextended his knee? I didn't even see it. I didn't get to watch the game last night. I was watching my daughter primarily, and then had the Padres game on in the background. That game was much closer than it should be. So, I kind of just figured with Trae Young out that the Bucks would just roll. And then I look at the score, and it's like 100-88 Hawks, and I was like, what the hell happened? So anyway, it's just chaos with the injuries. A lot of people are going to be pointing at, the shortened season last year due to COVID. I don't know what it is. I'm sure that is contributing to it, but some of these things just happen. I mean, it's a physical ass game. So, but I mean, it's made it entertaining. We'll see if the Suns close it out tonight. Hopefully they force Game 7. We'll see if the Bucks can rebound without Giannis. I believe that series is tied 2-2. But I mean, super entertaining stuff. Tip off tonight, I think, is at 6 for the Clippers and the Suns. Last thing I wanted to chat on is Formula One. Obviously, we had the Styrian Grand Prix of Austria last weekend. Kind of our biggest fears. Well, I mean, not really fears, but it seems like what we had kind of hoped was going to happen was that Red Bull and Mercedes would be on equal footing. They would be each, more or less the same, but it seems like Mercedes' dominance has just been usurped by Red Bull. Although the gap isn't as significant as it used to be. I remember, in the early years of this set of regulations, Mercedes and Hamilton specifically were, almost a full second at some tracks ahead in qualifying, which is, just miles, literal miles, by the end of the race. And now, it does seem like the Red Bull is 2 to 3 tenths quicker than the Mercedes consistently, which again, it does not seem too significant. You can come up, a great driver can overcome it with a really hot lap. I mean, prior to this race, the pole sitter, the pole sitter in the previous 2 races were Charles Leclerc. And that Ferrari is not good at all. As indicated by the French Grand Prix, and where Leclerc finished, he started 7th and finished 16th or something. So, but when things go to plan, it seems like Red Bull's going to be on the pole. This weekend we have the Austrian Grand Prix in Styria. Same track, pretty much the same race. I wish they would mix it up a little bit, but anywho. So yeah, Verstappen's on pole. Hamilton qualified 2nd. And Perez qualified 3rd, I believe, with Bottas. No, what happened was Bottas qualified 3rd, but he had a grid place penalty. So he dropped down to 6th or something. And that boosted up Perez into 3rd. The race unfolded not so much like a procession, but it definitely wasn't the most exciting race of the year. The biggest source of excitement for the race was Perez's botched pit stop. They couldn't get the left rear tire off, and it was quick, 2 seconds, but that was enough to get Bottas ahead of Perez, who had a good start and climbed his way up and was in a good position to do so. The opening laps were frantic, as they usually are. I don't know if it's because these cars are bigger or if they are better at keeping the tires warm on the way to the grid, but these past few years, these past 2 or 3 years, it seems like the starts are as frantic as ever. Obviously, in previous generations and previous regulations of the cars, the starts were still pretty wild, but I don't know if these cars just handle better in the choppy air in general, or if they've just gotten much better at the tires being up to temp. which I think that's what it is, because it seems like there's less tiptoeing and more kind of forceful driving on the first few laps, where in the past the drivers were very cautious. They would still try to make moves. It was probably their best chance to make up a position or two, but nothing like it is now. And then I think the cars being larger with longer wheelbases and maybe even the halo just gives a more dynamic look on the screen when you're watching these cars change directions. I mean, it looks absolutely insane, the first few laps, how these cars are able to be so close together and not have complete carnage. Really exciting stuff in the first few laps. You always got to wake up early enough to watch the start of the race, because that's usually where the most of the magic happens. So I enjoyed that. Hopefully, maybe Hamilton will get a better start this round. Maybe we'll see an improvement by Mercedes. They did come out and say that they are going to invest some money into developing this year's car. So, maybe they can close some of that gap. I can't remember if I told Jeff privately or if it was on this that I don't buy the excuse that they're focusing on next year's car. It's kind of like the default. I mean, frickin' Ferrari has been doing that for 10 years. We're focused on next year's car. We're focused on next year's car. And then they come out in the first practice of the season and they post their fastest time. They go top of the time charts for maybe a day or two, because that's what they're trying to do to hype the Italian press. And then, by FP1 in Australia, typically the opening stop on the calendar, they're mid to later third of the top 10. So, I mean, all hope is not giving up on the Tifosi this year. I think Leclerc can still sneak and get a win somehow, but I mean, I don't know where it was at. The other thing is, kind of got honey-dicked a little bit by the weather forecast. The things I were checking said 70% Saturday, 80% Sunday, and I was getting hyped for the potential of a wet race and maybe some wildness on a short track. That would have been awesome. And then that dropped down to 40%, and then I was going on just the interwebs. I was typing in Spielberg, which I believe is the city that the track is in, and it was saying 90% chance, and then some were saying 0. So I mean, I don't know how the weather is done in Europe. I know from watching all kinds of races at Spa that and Monaco, it has its own microclimate. A cloud can sprout up at the last minute, and you never know what you're going to get. If you don't like the weather, wait a few minutes, then maybe you will. Is the classic line that Steve Matchett used to feed. And also, it could be raining on one part of the track and not on the other part of the track. Anyway, the cliches that F1 loyalists are probably cringing at because everybody makes this joke. It's like the hacky F1 commentator joke, but I mean, that seems on brand for us. So, obliged to go with that one. But yeah, I mean, if you ever feel like you're unimportant or not useful, just remember that there are people on Formula1.com that do weather forecasts and outlook. It's never right. It's never. I mean, it seems like every actual wet race, it just like all of a sudden you turn it on Sunday, and the track is just drenched. And you're like, what? I didn't. Well, was there no mention of this in the practice sessions or in qualifying? All of a sudden the track is drenched. I wasn't ready for this. I mean, number one, I want to get hyped for it in anticipation. Number two, I don't know if I can handle the prospect of a wet race just like this. It's 5 minutes till lights out, and they're on full wets. Like, I should have been tilting this much earlier. So, if somebody can get on that, we need a F1 weather guy. I think there is a guy on Twitter. It's called like Race Forecast, but I believe he does IMSA and GT races. I don't believe he does Formula One. Come to think of it, I haven't seen a tweet from him in a while. It might be an inactive account now. So, maybe that'll be something we do. But yeah, I mean, I've missed so many races, like the Sebastian Vettel's initial win in a Toro Rosso at Monza. Was, I mean, the dampest of damps, and I mean, I just missed that. Um, oh, I mean, this actually reminds me, the Formula One fans who have been around for a while, both of you that might be listening, there was nothing more tilting than the random 3 race mid season switch from the Speed Channel, Speed Vision, whatever it was called, Channel 78 here in San Diego, to ESPN. They would always switch to ESPN for 3 rounds, and Monaco was one of them, and then they would do Canada before the U.S. Grand Prix, and then there was like a third European race going back, and I would always, I get the, I get Monaco because I had always known when Monaco was, and this is before, the internet was in your pocket. This is, where you'd actually have to go on a desktop and look up calendars, using freaking dial-up internet. And yeah, you didn't have something where you could set reminders and shit, so you just had to, you did have the DVR, but that's how I would find it. I'd just look at the channel the next weekend, okay, Sunday, 4:30, when the races used to start, there's nothing on here, so there must not be a race. Like, that's it. It's like, no, you had to check ESPN. It's on ESPN. So yeah, you missed recording these races at 4:30 that, so you wouldn't have to wake up so early because of bullshit. So anyway, the tech has gotten much better. I mean, now we have freaking Netflix shows where you can binge and catch up a whole season, and while you're Netflix and chilling, which make good decisions, kids. That's all I'm gonna say. All right. So yeah, we're back in Austria again this weekend. Maybe we'll get some weather. Let me check the forecast right now. Let's see what the forecast says right now. Spielberg forecast. Styria, Austria. Feels like 61 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight's weather forecast, rain, 50 degrees. This is wonderful radio. So we have an 83% chance of rain on Sunday, 60% chance on Monday, 25% chance on Friday. I mean, this is what I saw last week, and the rain did not come. Hamilton at the end of the race, there were some clouds threatening. Hamilton at the end of the race said, do we think the rain's coming? And I mean, it was too little too late anyway. I should say, while the in the closing laps of the race, and Perez was able to kind of hunt down Bottas, that was exciting. They couldn't get around him though, so too little too late that that botch pit stop ended up denying Perez of what would have been his third podium in a row. So, unpredictable weather, Mercedes' response, and more fans. 5 reasons we're excited about the Austrian GP. So I guess they're going to allow more fans in, which, I mean, good for them. I mean, they just lost out of the Euros, so they'll be looking for something to be happy for. They're big Verstappen fans. New tire constructions, unpredictable weather. Yeah, it just says unpredictable. So, we'll see. Tune in. Hopefully it'll be a good race. And we'll have more to talk about next episode. That's going to wrap it for now. Padres are in Cincinnati. Giants are playing the Dodgers. I don't know who I want to root for. I mean, I guess the Dodgers, because the Padres want to win the division. So, I mean, I'm just going to root for the team that's further down the standings, and we seem to be the Dodgers' daddy. So, and thoughts and prayers for Trevor Bauer with a sexual assault allegations. I mean, I don't know what's going on with that guy. I don't know what's going on with the Dodgers. They've had a few problematic players, so I mean, you never know what. We never know the details. We don't want to assume, but it's not a good look either way. So yeah, that's gonna do it. NBA playoffs. Let's go Clips tonight. I'm off to get some PF Chang's. Till next time, guys. Rate and review, share around, and give us your feedback. Thank you for your support. I'm out. Toodaloo!